welcome everybody to the latest Motoring Millennials podcast episode. I'm Zach Rothenberger with my co-host Anthony Lucci. As always, welcome you in on the latest episode. We know we've been a little spotty and not as consistent with weekly episodes, but we're going to get back to that. Don't worry. Don't forget, it is racing season, and we have cars and horsepower to make, and we have races to attend, and a lot of other projects going on. So we appreciate you bearing with us, but there will definitely be more consistent episodes coming out in the future. But looking back and not talking about the future, not back to the future, previous episodes, we've had Rob Keister of the Mid-Atlantic .90 Association on our last episode. Rob talked a lot about his he's the president of the association and some of the great things they do, some of the events they have this year. So be sure to check that out and attend those events. Prior to that, we had an episode talking about the new ownership of Maple Grove Raceway with the Koretsky family. I race the points program there, and I can tell you there's already been a lot of great improvements. So definitely check that out and get to the track. And prior to that, we had our friends, the J brothers, Jake Narr, Jed Narr, and Joe Dedrick join us as we talked about their no box 660 shootout race at Maple Grove, June 10th, 11th, and 12th. That's coming up. And so we'll be there. Check out that episode and some of our social media posts to learn more about that event and make sure you attend. But this week, we're not really talking about racing. It's the middle of May. Excuse me. It's the middle of May. The pollen, as you can tell by the way I'm choking up, is in the air, which spurred kind of our interest to talk about this episode, which is washing 201. It's washing 201 because previously we had an episode called Auto Detailing 101 where we kind of gave you the whole picture of what it's like detailing your cars and some tips and tricks. And this is the start of our next auto detailing series, and we're going to start off with the car wash itself.
Yeah, Zach, I couldn't have said it better. So that I'm sure all of our listeners, pretty much all over the country, I've seen posts online that no matter where you are, spring is really just hidden. It's been cold and rainy for a lot longer than it typically is. So now with the temperatures, at least where we are in Pennsylvania, starting to get into the mid 70s more consistently, a lot of your flowers or trees are coming out blooming, and that means there is pollen all over your car. Unless, of course, you keep your car inside a garage 24/7 or in a trailer or even under a car cover. But still, when you bring it out, you take it on the road and you leave it outside for more than 10 minutes, it's going to have a layer of pollen on it, even if it's a nice, clear, sunny, non-windy day. So we are going to go into what it's like to properly wash your vehicle. And we're going to kind of break it down right into two different ways to do that. So your basic quick wash, if you just want to get the pollen off, maybe it's a vehicle that, has okay paint on it. And then your advanced next level wash for a car that has pristine paint on it, a very expensive paint job, maybe the car is brand new, whatever that might be. So we're going to go over and talk through those couple different methods. So yeah, Zach, should we get right into it?
Yeah. So starting the typical basic car wash, obviously you would use a bucket for your soap and water. We're going to dive into the more next level method that we would recommend. But like Anthony, like you said, if you're looking to just do it on your daily driver or a car, that you might not have a brand new paint job on, those type of things that you listed, definitely just a standard bucket preferably with a divider at the bottom. I know I have one of them. They actually come in handy pretty well, and you can definitely see a difference. The divider, what it does, it separates the dirt, and it keeps it down in the bottom of the bucket, while your clean water, or mostly clean water, is at the top part of the bucket for you to use when you're actually applying, the soapy water to your vehicle. And, with that, you can use a sponge, or you can use a microfiber mitt. There's a lot of different things that you could use. Either way, I would say is fine. The microfiber is definitely probably more recommended though.
Yeah, and you also need a hose to do this, right? You don't want to just put, whatever that mitt is or sponge that you're using onto the paint. You want to hose your vehicle down first, right? Get the heavy layer of dirt off, and then you can, dunk your mitt into the bucket and wash your car. Now we would recommend you should rinse that mitt or sponge, whatever it is, out, between, so you're not just putting dirty water back into the same bucket. So use your nozzle on the end of your hose to spray that out and wring it out before you dunk it back into your bucket with your clean soap. And then I guess pretty much once you're done washing your car and you hose it off with clean water, then you're going to use a microfiber towel to dry it. If it's a vehicle where maybe it's a rat rod or something like that, you can use a kitchen or a bath towel to dry it. I've done that in the past on some of my cars that I just really don't care about the paint. But typically you want to use a microfiber towel because that's going to, you're going to put the most scratches in the paint when you're drying the vehicle. So you want to try to minimize that and use a microfiber towel, something that absorbs the water. Now, let's have a quick Motorin moment. And a lot of people don't know I was talking to someone the other day and they were saying like, oh, microfiber towel doesn't absorb water. Yeah, but that's because you need to wet the towel first. So wet the towel in your sink, wring it out, and then it will absorb water. So like a microfiber towel that's dry is really not going to absorb water. You have to really get it soaked first, wring it out, and then you can go dry the rest of your vehicle. So there's your quick Motorin moment. I haven't had one of those in a while, Zach.
No, we haven't. That's a good one. And yeah, obviously to your point, I don't know how I glanced over the use that you need a hose to do this, but it's important to always make sure that your vehicle has some form of say lubrication on it from the water, obviously, because the more water you have on it, the less likely you are to scratch anything. Like a dry surface, you're going to scratch. And to your point about rinsing out your sponge or your mitt, absolutely, because if not, you're just rubbing dirt particles into your paint. So it's important. I always like to keep the whole car wet the entire time. I don't care if I'm on the opposite side of what I already did. I always like to kind of go back and spray it every now and then, so that way it doesn't dry up on me and cause dry spots, especially if I'm in the sun. And also for the drying process of trying to keep it wet as much as possible, so that way when I am drying, I'm not rubbing just on a dry surface. So
yeah, and I do the same exact thing. And I think Zach, a good point me and you were talking about earlier before the show was about trying not to wash your vehicle in direct sunlight, which is hard, right? It's none of us, or let's say not a lot of us, have an ideal shop with a floor drain in it and a really ideal dedicated wash station for our cars. A lot of the time we're doing them in a driveway, underneath trees, in the sun. I mean, it's hard to, and then with your daily life, it's hard to, if the sun's going down and you can get your vehicle next to a building, you only have a short period of window, when it's under shade before the sun goes down. So it's a struggle, right? Like you're in a time crunch and you need sunlight, obviously, to wash your vehicle, but you don't want it to be in direct sunlight. So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, there's been times where it's been so sunny out and like my truck is just so filthy that I want to wash it regardless. And even with me trying to keep the whole vehicle wet on and off the whole time, that's when once I'm done washing it, sometimes I have to do a waterless wash spray on top of it, and again, spray a bunch of it so I'm not scratching anything. But you gotta do what you gotta do in the sunlight. I guess you have to adapt. So it's because the heat on your vehicle along with the sun just dries it so fast sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, think if how our skin burns in the sun, right? If say you were just laying on your driveway all day long, it would be unbearable, right? And especially in the middle of the summer. So, this is why it's important to maintain the paint on your car and to get dirt off and to remove water spots, to remove bird droppings, because any of that stuff that is going to bake into the paint is going to ultimately etch the clear coat, and it's going to cause damage. So it's a struggle, but do your best to either try to get up early in the morning before the sun is fully up and it's really hot to wash your vehicle, or later in the day, right before the sun's going down, and try to not be in that direct sunlight in the middle of the day. But obviously, we're all working with what we have.
Yeah, and the more that you wash your vehicle or you take care of it with spray wax or a wax, the easier it is to maintain it, because you already have a protective coat on your vehicle, and it just stays cleaner, easier, and quicker, like more often. So the more you do it, if you can wash it once a week, that would be like the ideal thing to do. Obviously, it's tough to find that time and with the weather, but
if anyone has that secret, let me know.
I know in high school, I used to wash my Monte Carlo every week and I would wax it once a month. But when you're in high school, you don't really have any responsibilities. So that would be why.
Dude, your car was I can attest to that. Zach's always had the cleanest car in the high school parking lot, and his wheels were always shiny.
Well, thanks. Those were my glory days, I guess.
But speaking of wheels, I think something we wanted to touch on real quick. This kind of ties in with not washing your vehicle in the sun. You want to wash your wheels and tires first. And I know a lot of times it seems backwards, but the reason being is you don't want that soap to dry on your paint, or you don't want water spots to dry on the paint right after you wash the car. So before you even wet the rest of the vehicle, it's best to do your wheels and tires. And we'll get into this a little bit more, but even if you're doing this basic wash method we're talking about, you should definitely have a separate bucket for your wheels and tires, because any of those little brake particles, all the brake dust that's coming off of your, that you're removing from the wheels and tires that make your wheels not shiny and look matte and gray, brownish, that's all little metal flakes. You don't want to be rubbing that into the paint, the clear coat of your car. That is a definite no-no. So do your wheels and tires first with a separate bucket. And, I would say there's a lot less surface area on your wheels to go back and, like Zach said, hit it with a spray wax or something, or a waterless wash, like Zach said, instead of having to go over your entire car. All you'll have to do is go over your wheels real quick with one rag, and boom, then you can go onto your tire shine, after you dry the rest of the vehicle.
Yeah, I almost think that, as we move into kind of the more next level type of car wash methods that we would recommend, I think, like, to your point of doing the wheels first, it's almost like you want your wheels, when you do your wheels, to have your own separate microfiber mitt for them.
Yes.
Or your own separate sponge or whatever.
Yep. Yeah, that's an excellent point.
So as we move to the next level, like real OCD type of stuff here, the 3-bucket method, right? I know we talked earlier about the kind of a standard. If you're just doing a basic car wash, you might want to have 1 bucket, but with a divider. We're going to go 3-bucket method here, right, Anthony? So can you kind of elaborate what the 3-bucket method is? I know you touched on it a little bit just now.
Yeah. So I would say you want 3 separate buckets and I would say 2 dividers. And what you would do is, in bucket 1, you would have a divider, and that's where you would have a good quality shampoo. All right. So your clean water with your soap. So like a gentle snow foam, or like a McGuire's, a really good quality shampoo for your vehicle. And then in bucket number 2, you're going to have just clean water, no soap, and another divider. And then in bucket 3, like we just talked about, would be for your wheels and tires specifically. Now, you can get really crazy. And all this, if you're taking notes through this advanced next level list, a lot of this stuff, like, and Zach and I are both pretty OCD, but we don't have all the stuff that's on this list even. So like deionized water. So, like a Brita filter, that you would use in your fridge. Well, some people have that on for their entire house. They have, water filters or a specific line that goes out to their garage. I mean, the more minerals and particles that you can remove out of the water that's hitting your paint, ultimately that's going to help minimize water spots and so just having as pure, clean water as possible. I mean, that's ideal, but it's not everyone has that, right? So I would say, yeah, the 3 bucket method is definitely a must. If you're doing a wash on a really nice vehicle, and I guess another thing would be like a microfiber wash mitt, something that's really a good quality, big wash mitt that's going to pull the dirt off of your paint. And then I guess, Zach, we should probably go through what that process looks like, right? So first you're going to,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was going to ask real quick, the wheel bucket, is that just water in there?
Water and soap. Yeah.
Water and soap. Okay. With a divider.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different, I think in the last couple of years, there's a lot of products out there now for detailing, a lot more than I know when like we first started driving. It was like you would go to your AutoZone and you pick out a couple things on the shelf, whatever they had. But now it's like with the internet, there's all there's Adams, there's all these different. Meguiar's. I've always loved Meguiar stuff. But there's so many other companies out there that are making products. We could do a whole nother 2-hour long episode on that. But we're not going to get into recommending products on this episode. But yeah, you want to. I would say you would want a dedicated wheel and tire cleaner in that bucket. Like, for example, I just purchased P&S Brake Buster. So that's what I've been using specifically for wheels and tires. Now, obviously not on the paint of the car, but for wheels and tires. Yeah.
Yeah. No. All right. Yeah. That's good that you cleared that up. And it makes a lot of sense because there are definitely different material and chemical makeup of certain products for your wheels versus your paint. And we touched on, obviously, in the basic method of car washing is using your hose and keeping it lubricated and whatever and all that. Now, I think in the ideal next level type of washing, it would be ideal and it would be great if you had a power washer instead of just using your hose. Is that right?
Yeah, pressure washer. Yeah. So, you could go. I guess you could use a gas pressure washer, but ideally, to wash your car, you really don't need that. You could use an electric one. Now they sell Sun Joes on Amazon. I'm sure they're probably like under $200, but they're probably not going to last long. You're probably going to, and the flow coming out of them probably sucks. So, you could do that. Again, it's better than just using a hose, but you can spend upwards to $1,500 on a really good, Krensla pressure washer. But again, how often are you cleaning your car? How many cars are you cleaning? How much do you enjoy detailing? This is all things to take into the mix. If you're going to this next level, what level of that do you really want to do it at? If you want to go full blown and you want to, you're trying to make sure that you're one of those people at the car show that your car never sees, rain. And then maybe you're going to go buy a Krensla pressure washer for $1,500. but yeah, I mean, that would be ideal. And then you would want to use that to wash out your microfiber mitt after you touch each panel. So I guess let's cover that a little bit real quick. So you would, I guess let's start at the beginning. So you obviously would do your wheels and tires, right? And then next, now you see a lot of guys on YouTube that they foam their car, right? Now I personally think if your car is really dirty, you should, Zach, just like you said earlier, hose it off first, right? Get that heavy dirt off. And then you can use a foam cannon that would attach to your pressure washer to get a layer of soap onto the paint without you touching it. Then you can use your microfiber wash mitt. You would put that into bucket number 1 with your shampoo, and you would go over a panel. Then you would you would hose that off with your pressure washer to get any of that heavy dirt, remove that out of your mitt, dunk that into bucket 2, right, which just clean water to get any of the remaining dirt off, wring it out, and then you would go back into bucket number 1 and then back onto your next panel. So again, this is not like, it's not going to be a 5-minute wash job, right? I mean, we know, Zach, detailing a car fully can take you a day.
Absolutely.
I guess let's talk about drying it a little bit, right? So we talked about using a microfiber towel to dry it, even with the basic method of washing your vehicle. But what are some other good ways to remove the water after you hosed off your vehicle?
Yeah, there are several companies, and you could probably even use your leaf blower if you wanted to, that do like an air dryer type of a blower machine that basically just you don't even touch your vehicle while you're drying it. Which the benefits of that are it removes the possibility of you scratching it from drying it, and it might mean you don't have to constantly lubricate or put water on your vehicle, so that way it doesn't have any dry spots, for example, because now instead you have this machine that just air dries it for you. So it definitely the biggest benefit is obviously that it eliminates the opportunity for you to scratch your vehicle while you dry it. So it's the less that you could touch your vehicle while you're washing it, the better, because it eliminates the risks of scratches. And that's what that does.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you might need to go over, and because you might have some little trails of water, right, where you're blowing the water off the vehicle. And that's where you would use a microfiber towel. Again, like we said earlier, you want to wet it first, and then you would want to use some type of drying aid, either like Meguiar's Shine As You Dry or Ammo Hydrate, and spray that onto either, follow the instructions on the bottle, either onto the panel of the car or onto your microfiber towel, and go over that very lightly. Now, you're not taking a lot of water off, so you can just easily go over that very lightly and go on to the next panel. And that drying aid should have any that you leave behind on the paint. One, it's going to serve as a lubricant, so you're not going to scratch your paint. And then 2, it should evaporate and then, help also add a little bit of a pop to your clear coat. But yeah, I mean, I think that kind of covers it, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I think we did we touched on your basic, like if you don't have the access to some of these other kind of next level type of tools, there's some good examples of your basic car wash that's safe for your paint and also will provide a good finish. And we also went through the next level where, hey, if you want to get really into it and it's your passion, you love to do it, here's what we recommend. And I will say we did not mention anything about driving through any car washes here, people. So the amount of times where if I'm talking to someone and they say, oh yeah, I went to the car wash, and they'll say, oh, did you go through a drive-through? And they're like, yeah, super convenient. It took me like 3 minutes. I'm like, yeah, well, you get what you pay for, and your length of time, and that's the ultimate scratch machine. So if you're listening and if you're thinking to yourself, wow, well, I did that before, well, shame on you. Don't ever do it again.
Yeah, and a quick story, Zach, I told you this. I brought my one vehicle through. I thought it was one of those touchless washes.
Oh,
and like that's what the sign said. And I went in, and it had the big rollers, and I was trapped, and I had to do a full paint correction after. And
oh,
that is a true story. And I will never, ever, ever, ever go back to one of those places
yeah,
again because I got tricked.
yeah,
And I felt like I should have got my quarters back.
and yeah, right. And that brings up a good point too. We might want to touch on before kind of closing off the episode is that's a black vehicle, right? That you did that.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's a great point, Zach. Yeah, with that can vary. That can the color of your car can vary, right?
Mhm.
Like on how you want to wash your car.
Yeah. If you have like a black vehicle or a darker, deeper paint, like we talked about, if it's if it's your just a regular paint or if it's like a high dollar paint job, even if it's just a black paint job that has any gloss in it, I would definitely recommend the next level, like not as touchy feely of a car wash routine than the basic one. Because like I said, the more you touch it, the more there are likely for scratches. And with a black vehicle or a dark vehicle, you're going to see them a lot more than you would say a tan, silver, or a white vehicle.
Yes. And I tell people all the time, don't buy a black vehicle. They look great when they're
But
clean
they
for
look
5 minutes,
awesome.
but unless you're putting the car in a museum, don't buy a black vehicle. But unless you really love detailing. But yeah, this kind of covered your basic car wash and your next level car wash. If you guys have any tips, leave them on our Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube account. Love to hear your input as well. And stay tuned for more detail and episodes. We're going to talk specifically on, we're going to have an episode on coatings. So waxes, sealants, ceramic coatings, all that stuff. I mean, because that's a totally different topic, and maintaining your paint. And then even how to clean the interior of your vehicle. Again, totally different products that you're going to be using. But yeah, we hope everyone got something out of this episode and enjoyed it. Like I said, let us know your tips. And feel free to share this episode. We appreciate everyone listening. You can find us online, like I said, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Motoring Millennials. Make sure to check out our apparel store at motoringmillennials.com. And we'll catch you on the next episode. And as always, keep on motoring. Hit it.